I take at least one cruise every month, and I always prepare for at least these 5 mishaps that can happen on any cruise I go on. Up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. I obviously go on a lot of cruises, but whether you go on one cruise a year or 12, the bottom line is it's a really good idea to be prepared for mishaps that can occur on any trip. Now, vacations are meant to be really this enjoyable, relaxing type of holiday away from it all. And more often than not, that is exactly what happens. But there have been situations in which things have not gone the way I thought it was going to happen. Whether I've taken cruises to the Caribbean or Europe, I'm always planning just in case for some really common mishaps, and that way I'm able to roll with the punches and not let it ruin my trip. That's actually one of my most important tips when it comes to travel in general, is don't let mistakes ruin your vacation. It's going to happen to everybody. I make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. The key is for it not to become the kind of issue that you come home to and realize your entire vacation was a disappointment. So these are the biggest mishaps that I've encountered on Royal Caribbean cruises and how I prepare for them in advance. Number one, I bring the right medication to avoid getting seasick. Many first-time cruisers are really worried about getting seasick on a cruise ship, but I think the chances of it happening are probably lower than most people assume. However, there is still definitely that possibility. Even I occasionally will get seasick if the winds are rocking the ship in the right direction. Earlier this year, I was sailing on Freedom of the Seas, and I noticed I started feeling queasy on our sea day and recognized a telltale sign of motion sickness setting on. The good news is you can really easily combat seasickness by having the right things with you. While there are a couple different homeopathic remedies out there, personally, I prefer to have a supply of over-the-counter medication at my disposal. I always pack with me Bonine chewable tablets to have just in case that occurs. When I first started cruising, I would take Bonine once a day, beginning the day before my cruise. However, as I cruise more often, I don't feel I need to take them daily, but they do work quickly if the symptoms of motion sickness begin while already on the ship. Number two, I always plan my travel schedule before and after my cruises around travel delays. If you want to know the most costly mistake you can make on a cruise, it's trying to fly in the same day your cruise begins. Whether you're trying to save money on a hotel room or are simply unaware of the risks, traveling the same day that your cruise is scheduled to begin is playing with fire. Air travel delays are notoriously bad, and they can happen all the time. Because of this, I always pad my travel plans to add more travel time in case of a delay or cancellation. Now, if you missed a ship because your flight was canceled or delayed, there's not much recourse to get you on that ship. Certainly, travel insurance may pick up the tab on the lost cost, but it won't replace the actual relaxing vacation you had planned. So, I always fly in at least one day before the cruise is set to begin for cruises that depart from my own country. If I'm flying internationally, like when I go to Europe, I'll bump that up to at least 2 days before the cruise is set to begin. In fact, I'd go one step further and recommend more days to not only account for travel delays, but also jet lag, which is arguably very disruptive as well. The third mishap I'm always planning against is noise in my cabin. And as a result, I always bring earplugs with me. Now, I have a pretty high tolerance for noise during the daytime, but when it interferes with my sleep, I really can't stand it. Most of the time, I have very few problems getting a good night's sleep on a cruise ship. In fact, I sleep better on a cruise than at home, especially if I'm booked in an inside cabin that has the ideal sleeping conditions with pitch blackness. Oh, it's so nice. But just in case, I always pack a supply of disposable earplugs in my luggage. Cabin noise can be the result of many sources, including rattling within the cabin, other passengers around you, or music, or who knows what. So when you're awakened mid-sleep and all you want to do is go back to sleep, I really don't have the energy or the knack to go track down the source every single time. So instead, I'll pack my earplugs and I'll keep them by my nightstand, put them in, and get right back to sleep. Next up is something that's been very top of mind, and that is power adapters, because power plugs can be scarce on many cruise ship cabins. So as a result, I always pack an approved power adapter. Now, Royal Caribbean, to their credit, has gotten really good about adding enough power outlets in cruise ship cabins with its newer vessels, but I always assume there aren't enough outlets in any cabin. Now, some of you are thinking, Matt, what do you possibly have to plug in? How could you use up all your outlets? Well, the reality is more than you think. I've got my laptop, my phone, my wife's phone, a smartwatch. I'm usually plugged in at one time or another. And then in the evening, my wife wants to blow dry or straighten her hair, so she needs an outlet there. And basically, it just goes very quickly. And then that's not accounting for my kids, by the way. So there's just a lot of different devices that are out there. And if you're on a cruise ship built before, I would say 2010, there's a good chance your cabin will have like just 2 power outlets in the entire cabin. So as a result, I pack a power adapter with me to take on every sailing. Royal Caribbean recently banned multi-plug outlets, but there are still approved outlet adapters you can take with you. Basically, the rule of thumb is as long as your power adapter does not have more than one AC outlet, doesn't matter how many USB outlets it has, you're totally cool. So I bring a USB hub in my carry-on bag, and it ensures that we keep a few things charging concurrently. And lastly, before my cruise, I start to drink more water to avoid travel stomach. This is a sort of uncomfortable truth about travel, not just cruises, by the way. This happens like going on land vacations too. But despite my, 100 or so cruises of nights I've taken in my life, my digestive tract seems to get triggered by travel quite often. Grumpy gut is what a lot of people call it. And it's not the result of a bacterial infection, like I'm not eating something wrong or what have you. It's just bad luck with the transition to new foods, or maybe it's dehydration from flying, or changes in climate, or just simply something else altogether. A couple days before my cruise begins, I'll try to drink more water to help keep everything, moving. I feel this is especially important for embarkation day because when you get on board the cruise ship and you're excited for your cruise to begin, like many people, I'm always like, hey, I'm on vacation, I'm excited, it's finally here, yay. And with that mantra in mind, a lot of people go straight to the bar and have a cocktail, and they have another cocktail, and they're really not taking the time to drink maybe as much water as they necessarily should, and so it's really important to hydrate as much as you can. Now, that being said, water alone doesn't always work, so as a result, I also travel with medicine like Pepto-Bismol or Imodium to quickly handle the sort of situations that might occur should the travel stomach issues happen. As I said earlier, being properly prepared for the different situations and scenarios that can occur is really the key to avoiding them becoming a major problem. All these issues I've listed can happen all the time. Now, I admit the one that I probably haven't run into yet personally, thankfully, is I missed a cruise because I booked my flight the same day of my cruise. But that being said, I'm always cognizant of giving myself enough time. However, when I go into any cruise, I have these 5 things in mind at the very least, because I think they are 5 common but easily avoidable and 5 easily manageable problems to avoid should you encounter them. Along those lines, I'd like to know, what are the things that you prepare for? What are the mishaps that you always think in the back of your mind when you plan for a cruise vacation that you are planning against to make sure they don't become bigger issues? Let me know in the comments below. While you're down below our video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets you know of a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.